we must be prepared for an intense showdown between China and the US. The number of China's nuclear warheads must reach the quantity that makes US elites shiver when they entertain the idea of engaging in a military confrontation with China. Now, this isn't the attack that I'm talking about. This is bluster. This is called wolf warrior diplomacy. This is bull. Now, the attack is actually something that you might not even hear about, and it's a speech from the leader of China himself, Xi Jinping. I'm going to break it down for you and tell you why it's such a threat. It's psychological warfare. China's dictator-in-chief, don't call him a president, that's not what he is. He doesn't make random, erroneous speeches. No, when Winnie the Pooh speaks, people listen and action is taken. It's not usually good action. Xi Jinping, the leader of China, has just made a speech to the Chinese people, and it involves how it's going to deal with the West, and the USA in particular. It's about to conquer the West. It is necessary to strengthen the propaganda and interpretation of the Communist Party of China to help foreign people realize that the Communist Party of China really strives for the happiness of the Chinese people, and why Marxism is practiced, and why socialism with Chinese characteristics is good. Now, there's going to be a lot of news outlets that are going to cover this in a positive light. I'm calling this way ahead of time because for all intents and purposes, if you read through the speech, it looks like Xi Jinping, China's dictator-in-chief, is backtracking on one of his worst inventions. And that invention is wolf warrior diplomacy. Wolf warrior diplomacy was named after a very, very cringe nationalistic Chinese movie of the same name. Pretty embarrassing, I know. It's when China decided to stop being the silent power in the background and took a very cringy approach of dealing with other countries in an aggressive manner. The wolf warrior approach is to whine like a fat 12-year-old bully and accuse other countries of preposterous things instead of facing down its own deficiencies and human rights abuses. Let's be fair, China is one of the worst committers of human rights atrocities in the entire world. I mean, look at the way the Chinese government's dealing with the COVID scenario. China arrested doctors who blew the whistle during the first stages of the pandemic. Then what happened? Well, it denied on state media that human-to-human transmission of COVID-19 was possible, despite the overwhelming evidence that it was transmissible. What happened next? Did they admit it? No. The CCP went on state media and told citizens to stop talking about COVID-19 and stop spreading rumors as there was no pandemic. Oh, you think it stops there? No, then it sanctioned the virologists who courageously published the first SARS genome without permission. Then its National Health Commission forbade the publishing of any information regarding the Wuhan outbreak and ordered labs to destroy or transfer all viral samples to designated testing institutions. What happened after that? Oh, universities were instructed to not publish any report that indicates the virus originated in China. And now we know, by the way, I called this on April 1st of 2020. Look it up. Now we know that it most likely came from a lab leak in Wuhan. But guess what? Nothing to see here, folks. According to China, not only did the virus not leak from the lab in Wuhan, but COVID-19 didn't even come from China. You guys have been asking me over and over again, how do Chinese people learn about COVID-19? Where do they think it comes from? What do they actually feel on the ground, the fact that it came from China? They're not taught that. It has gotten so out of control that the state media and propaganda has pushed the fact that it's come from America so well now that the majority of Chinese people do not believe that the coronavirus came from China. According to Chinese state media, the coronavirus came from the USA. No proof, no evidence, nothing. When you see the CCP deflect so extremely, you can almost guarantee that they're very guilty of what they're being accused of. And you see this over and over again. The CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, has never been one to accept fault. But instead of shutting up about it and hiding in the shadows like it used to, now it blusters and puffs out its chest and pisses off the world. This was Xi Jinping's creation. He was tired of seeing China kind of hide out in the background and get rich and, behind the scenes in the shadows. He wanted to kind of exert his power and make sure that China was a world power in bluster, in reputation, and wouldn't take no for an answer. But this has ultimately backfired, and it's really undone a massive portion of China's diplomatic progress. China is no longer taken seriously by Western countries and has even managed to paint itself as a villain of sorts, which is a complete 180 just from a few years ago, where everyone was clamoring to be a pander bear shill to get some of that blood money. So yeah, Xi Jinping calls for the decline of wolf warrior tactics to soften China's image abroad, but guess what? This is not good news. Don't for 1 second believe all these news outlets that are saying that China's going to take a softer approach. What this actually means is that you're about to get a metric truck ton of propaganda barraging you from all angles. The CCP has just approved a 500% increase in propaganda targeting Americans and is reworking its propaganda approach to be more believable and as well just more in general. The whole speech is about how China is going to take a 3D approach to make people believe in the Communist Party of China and what it does is good, to expand and explode its propaganda efforts globally, particularly towards Americans. China's about to sling so much propaganda at you that you won't even know what's coming. If you thought it was bad now, you need to be on high alert more than ever in the coming future for slickly veiled propaganda. It's meant to misinform you and change your mind and see China's totalitarian state as a net positive, not only for Chinese people, but also a net positive for the world. Get ready to see a load of white monkeys. And white monkeys are non-Chinese vloggers or shills or spokespeople that spew video after video, article after article of, promotion of the CCP or genocide denial in Xinjiang or the successes of the poverty alleviation that the CCP has accomplished or how well ethnic minorities are treated by the government and how bad your country is, how bad the West is and what a downfall America is. And also China's just basic positive impact on the world. You're about to see a lot of these. The people that don't have souls and are willing to sell out and say things that they don't even believe for a quick buck. It's already begun. You can see this campaign in action with this new video that came out from CGTN, which is one of China's biggest state outlets. Instead of their blustering, blaming all these other countries with wolf warrior tactics, it's gentle quotes from Xi Jinping.
我们不应该为他设定人为的阻，浩渺行无极，扬帆但信风。
Chairman Xi talking about China and the world and how their cooperation and international openness is the key to their success. And guess what? Remember I said that the Chinese government was going to employ foreigners to do their bidding, to portray this beautifully soft China image? Well, lo and behold, they've gotten one of their favorites, a well-known CCP shill. You might have seen him around YouTube, but he's also been known to sell his soul for much less, including knockoff Nintendo 64 consoles.
And that solution is Warrior 64. And as you can see, Warrior 64 has a complete new casing. It's nice and slick.
As well as a herbal Chinese cold remedy that he touts as a cure for COVID-19. I kid you not.
They've also proven very effective to treat COVID-19.
Showed that in the treatment of COVID-19, symptoms were reduced by over 90%.
So there you have it. That's exactly why you should be picking up Lianhua Qingwen capsules to stay safe.
This is the official spokesman of Xi Jinping's new propaganda campaign.
Whereas I think the way America wants to go now, by closing themselves off, I think that doesn't benefit the people at all. It's like if you look at currently Huawei.
We are here at the Huawei.
We are here at the Huawei.
Is that something Huawei would consider using?
Today we are again at the Huawei campus. We're going to go to the Huawei flagship store press event. As you know, I'm a massive fan of Huawei.
They're definitely heavily promoting this because this is aimed at you. This is supposed to hit your eyes. And in fact, if you look at the views, just within 1 or 2 days, it's already almost got 500,000 views. Now, you might think that's normal for a big channel, but look at the other videos. They barely break 1,000 sometimes. I would say on a good video for them, we're talking maybe 10,000. Here's 500,000 views. But also, look at the thumbs up and thumbs down ratio. There is not enough thumbs up or thumbs down for a video with this many views. And especially when you look at the comments, it starts to get very fishy. At the time of filming this, there was only 78 comments on a video of almost 500,000 views. This either is bot accounts trying to push the video to be popular through the algorithm, or it's being embedded and spammed everywhere by the Chinese government. Get ready to see thousands upon thousands of Twitter accounts and thousands of new YouTubers pretending to show you the normal life in contested areas like Xinjiang, and how there are no concentration camps and forced labor there. By the way, YouTube and Twitter and all these websites are blocked by the Chinese government. They actively use Western platforms built on freedom of speech to spout their oppressive narrative of lies and deceit, trying to convince people like yourself that China is a free and open country, while your country, and especially the USA, is doomed and has actually already failed. Do you see the irony? Do you see the hypocrisy? A country that blocks their own citizens from using these services, but allows their Chinese government officials and their sycophants and people that spread propaganda for them to operate freely with a VPN on these platforms because it furthers the totalitarian state of China. They're going to make it seem like anyone who wants to visit Xinjiang can just go. You know, they're trying to hide all these concentration camps there. We have the coordinates, we know where they are, but they won't allow journalists in there to see. What they will allow are a bunch of foreigners that live in China to go to tourist areas and pretend like everything's okay. The Chinese government's gonna make you feel like you can just willy-nilly show up in Xinjiang and see whatever you want. It's part of their propaganda campaign. Meanwhile, the reality is that there are hand-picked foreigners that go to very specific areas of Xinjiang in an effort to make the Chinese government look transparent. Look at these foreigners, they're just able to see Xinjiang. There's no genocide here in the city square of the tourist region. Let's dance with ethnic Uyghurs who are definitely not oppressed. Ooh, I want to try Xinjiang Haagen-Dazs ice cream. In fact, this campaign's already started. Look at this grand lie that we've already uncovered. There's this YouTube channel called Story of Xinjiang by Gu Li, where a government employee regurgitates propaganda about Xinjiang genocide denial and how there's no forced labor and how everyone happily dances and how you're welcome to see, come and see for yourself.
And work in peace and happiness. There is no genocide and no forced labor. We have a proverb in China, hearing is fictitious and seeing is believing.
This is an extension of Xi Jinping's original propaganda plan, and that was called 讲好中国故事, which is tell a good Chinese story. It's basically this huge propaganda campaign he set up to trick or dupe the West into believing this narrative that the Chinese government puts out about its own country, that Uyghurs are not oppressed and that ethnic minorities live a happy life and there's no more poverty. It's basically lie to the world and we will reward you. That's what the campaign is. And you hear this name, 讲好中国故事, which is tell a good Chinese story. Thus the name you see with the YouTube channel, The Story of Xinjiang by Gu Li. This is a very poorly veiled attempt for Chinese propaganda. They use cute girls to go and trick Westerners into thinking that everything is hunky-dory. Now, I did some digging and I found out that not only is there one channel that is run by a girl claiming to be named Gu Li, but there's 6 of them, and possibly even more. These girls are all claiming to be ethnic Uyghurs. They operate fake channels, claiming to be organic vloggers, and use a VPN in Xinjiang to upload their propaganda videos to combat the global narrative that there is in fact genocide in Xinjiang. They get orders from the top to lie and say that they come from a family of cotton farmers, for example, when the West accuses China of forced labor in the cotton fields of Xinjiang, and now they're getting foreigners to come visit to make it look like that anyone can just show up and travel around Xinjiang with impunity. For example, look at this German who went to go meet Gu Li, this completely organic vlogger. He's actually a celebrity in China, and he was the star of a popular Chinese TV show, but they're making him look like he's just a random foreigner that showed up in Xinjiang out of nowhere, and he's having a great time seeing all the sights and sounds. These guys, they started with innocent showbiz careers, and now they're shilling for the CCP, and they will in the future be used for genocide denial propaganda, mark my words. Not really a good look for a German if he leans all the way into this gig. Oh, and by the way, a Uyghur using a VPN in Xinjiang is a second-degree act of terrorism, and that is the Chinese law. So I hope you can see through this absolute bullshit propaganda. If you see any video coming out of the surveillance hellhole that China has turned Xinjiang into, keep in mind, you're looking at North Korean level disinformation and propaganda. It's that scary there. It is unbelievable police state control. 1984 level on steroids. It's not just about Xinjiang though. Xi Jinping implies that Chinese propaganda needs to infiltrate every level of Western education and society. And trust me, they are going to be cutting fat checks for anyone that wants to get involved. Look at one of China's biggest state media branches, CGTN. They are globally recruiting foreigners, and I say foreigners meaning not Chinese people, and particularly Westerners like Americans, to be reporters and vloggers to spread Chinese propaganda. And their campaign, you wouldn't believe this, but it's actually called the Media Challengers. So these people going out to challenge the horrible Western narrative about all these things. It's literally a huge multi-million-dollar disinformation campaign to hire foreigners to go shill for the Chinese government. People with any influence around the world, you need to start paying attention to this campaign, seriously. Keep your eyes out and understand that there is an information war at hand. And it is backed by one of the most powerful forces in the world. Don't get duped and arm yourself with the truth and knowledge so that you don't get swept up in a multi-billion-dollar disinformation campaign put on by one of the worst modern villains the world has ever seen. I know I'll be busy.